Welcome to Salon Talks. I'm Dean Obeidallah, and today very happy to be joined by actor Michael Kelly. He's Emmy-nominated actor. You know him from his work as Doug Stamper on House of Cards, countless TV shows and films. Now he's co-starring in a great new two-part miniseries on Showtime called The Comey Rule, where he plays former FBI Director Andrew McCabe. It airs September 27th and 28th. Michael, welcome to Salon Talks, and it is a great series. You're a great actor, but this is a great miniseries.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. I'm incredibly proud to be a part of it.
So, honestly, when you were on the set shooting this, did you ever talk about Donald Trump is going to hate tweet this show many times? Because he's going to hate it. I mean, it's because it's truthful. It's based on James Comey's book. And he hates Comey, and he hates McCabe, and he hates Strzok, and he hates Lisa Page. And all these people are central to this show. So I'm not kidding. Was there ever a discussion like, Trump's going to hate this? He's going to tweet about it.
It was constantly being discussed. And I think I would be so incredibly proud if I saw a tweet go out, D-list actor Michael Kelly playing fake Andrew McCabe. I would just be over the moon. My manager he's already claimed the right to frame it for me if he does indeed tweet about D-list actor Michael Kelly.
Is there a nickname you would like from Trump? Is there anyone that you're like, you know what, if he ever going to give me one, this is the one? Because I actually tweeted, I wrote an article for CNN going, Trump, please mock me on Twitter. And I put like a Twitter like sample tweets for him just to copy and paste to make it easier. He never did it, but like, please, it just helps my career. So like, do it.
That's so good. I don't know. I mean, you got to figure loser is going to be in there, right? That's one of his favorite words. Or, D-list. I guess that would be, that would probably feel the best.
The director and writer Billy Ray joked that he might get audited. I'm not sure that's possible, but I can see the tweets. You were in this. You played Andrew McCabe, obviously House of Cards, Doug Stamper. Are you just drawn to the role, or does it, because politics is involved, does it make you more interested in actually playing the character?
Well, I think I know more about, I'm not saying that I'm this expert by any means on politics, but it is a great interest of mine. I studied political science in college prior to falling into acting, and I've always been into politics. I lobby on the Hill for seniors with Republicans and Democrats. Like, I'm very involved politically. So when I heard that Billy Ray, who I had worked with on Secret in Their Eyes, was doing this project, I immediately responded to his tweet with, "Who am I playing?" I jokingly said that and was actually felt so blessed and fortunate to actually be offered a role in it. I was kidding, but half kidding. This is something that is so appealing to me because this is a story that I think a lot of people, we are so inundated with crazy in politics today. House of Cards was the crazy show during the Obama administration. Then House of Cards kind of became irrelevant with the new crazy in real life, right? So for me, it's like, this is a story that people probably have forgotten, how it all started, where it all came from, what actually happened around that 2016 election. And I think to be a part of something that is a great reminder to the American people in a time when a lot of people need to be reminded of just how crazy this all is. I think it's a great thing to go back to and relive.
I think it laid out the Hillary investigation and then the origins of the investigation to Donald Trump's team and Russia and Michael Flynn in great detail. And that's why I say, honestly, Trump's not going to be happy with it, because it lays it out factually correctly in a very easy to understand way, in a compact way. But I got to ask you, you played Doug Stamper. For Frank Underwood, literally you did anything he needed. Do you think Trump likes the Doug Stampers of this world more than being surrounded by the Andrew McCabes of the world who are ethical?
I mean, 100%. I think he would love to have someone as efficient as Doug Stamper on his staff. He is yet to, I jokingly tweeted at him saying, "Hey man, I'll take the hit for America. I'll come be your chief of staff." I jokingly tweeted that at him because he has not had, in my opinion, a competent chief of staff, or at least one chief of staff who's been allowed to actually steer him in the right direction, right? Like, he might have had a competent chief of staff, but he's not allowed that chief of staff to do the work that he needs to do.
It's a good point. And I've got to ask once about your role, of course, but Brendan Gleeson, when I watched him play Trump, I think people are going to be surprised because first you'll watch and try to judge it as a good impression or not. We just naturally do that. But at the end of watching it, I really found, and I want to see if this resonates or not with you, he was playing it a Trump and he was playing like Marlon Brando in The Godfather as Don Corleone. And that's what I really got from it. And for some reason, that may have been a choice, may not have been a choice, maybe because I know Comey's talked about Trump being like Sammy the Bull and it comes up.
Right.
Did you get any of that? Like, what was your take on Brendan Gleeson's depiction of Trump in this?
I thought that he thread that needle perfectly between an impression and just sort of like Billy Ray asked us all to grab the essence of the character. Or he asked me, I can't speak for everyone. He asked me, I said, you want me to do McCabe? And he was like, no, there's not really enough to, he's not like Trump. He doesn't have that mannerism, that way of speaking that's so identifiable, right? So with McCabe, he's like, grab the essence. But with Brendan Gleeson, what he did with Trump is, to me, like a masterclass in acting, because I watched it and I'm just like, wow, he didn't do Trump. He really kind of just was Trump, And I do believe that, and I didn't talk to Brendan Gleeson about anything other than his visit, potentially visiting Niagara Falls while we were in Toronto. And I said, you have to go. That's all we talked about, really, just, and Ireland. So I can't speak for him, but in my impression of it, what I saw him do, yes, I think there is definitely some mob boss in there. And I think that is a great thing to throw in there because he really acts like one. He speaks like one. The president acts like one at times. And so I think it was I don't think he could have nailed that any more than he did.
And you play former FBI Director Andy McCabe, a man who served for over 2 decades in the FBI before getting fired by Trump just hours before his pension would vest because Donald Trump is that vindictive. And I know it had the veneer of Sessions did it and it was civil servant, but let's be blunt, we know what Trump is really about. With you, so you talked to Andy McCabe in preparing for this role?
I did. Funny enough, I didn't have time to even read the Comey book. And I also didn't want to be influenced by the Comey book, even though that's what the story is. I wanted to understand, and like Billy asked, get the essence of my guy. So I read Andy's book. I asked if I could speak to him, and Andy was open to that. And so originally the correspondence started over email and then text. And one day I was sitting here in the apartment and I get a text from Andy McCabe saying, hey, I'm in the city. Do you want to meet up for coffee? And I was like, I'm on my bike, dude. I'll be right there. And I hopped on my bike and I went over to meet him. And what was going to be a coffee ended up turning into like a 2-hour lunch and hangout. And it was all that I could ask for because, I got to understand him and it really just be with the man, and sort of like Billy said, grab the essence of who he is and what he is.
There was a scene where you're talking on the phone, obviously as Andy McCabe, to Trump, and he even takes a shot at Andy McCabe's wife, Jill, who lost an election. And that was reported earlier. I remember that. And my sister went to Duke with Jill and knows her a little bit, but has not kept in touch. But as much, unfortunately, because I wanted to get her on my radio show. I'm like, oh, get her. But it really shows the pettiness and the vindictiveness of Donald Trump to bring up Andy McCabe's wife. Not that she got funding from the Clinton, which she actually didn't get directly, but that she lost an election.
Right.
And what did Andy McCabe share any of that with you, how petty and vindictive Donald Trump was?
No, and it wasn't something that I really, I didn't feel comfortable in our first face-to-face meeting asking about that particular moment or anything about his wife other than, like I was saying, like family and how we both are very much alike with our families. So I didn't, but I know me as a man and I know him as a man and I know it's just like, that's something you don't do, man. It's kind of, it's off the books to any normal person with a conscience or any level of empathy. You don't go there. You can say what you will about her campaign contributions. You can say what you will about any of it. You just don't say that to a man about his wife. And it's as unforgivable, in my opinion, as what they did to Andrew McCabe, in my opinion, wrongfully terminating him just hours before his pension kicks in.
And, what I really liked about the and I almost called it a documentary there. I'm not kidding, accidentally, because
Yeah.
as someone who is, I covered a lot, writing about what went on in real time and covering it in the media. It felt like a documentary. And I know it's based on James Comey's book. Was Comey ever there during the shooting? Was Comey at all consulted by Billy Ray, the writer?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They talked at length, but I heard Billy say in an interview last week, we were all on a Zoom interview last week, and he said, Comey's book was a jumping off point for me. He went and spoke with Republicans, Democrats on the Hill, people he knows, sources he won't identify, obviously. But he did Billy Ray is a great writer, and he's a great writer because he does his research. And he did his research on this. And so while Comey's book was the jumping off point, obviously it's not all kind of James Comey either, right? So, it's one of the greatest things about this project is it's going to piss off people on the left and the right, but it's going to cause people to talk. And I think more importantly right now, we all need to talk as a country. We need to talk to people on the right, talk to people on the left, because we are so divided like never before. Everyone's thought we were divided during we were divided during Obama. No, this is division. And if we don't talk, this is just going to get further and further apart. So I felt like Billy Ray did an incredible job of going beyond Comey's book and really just getting this true story out there to the people. He was there on set. I did not get to meet James Comey. It was not when I was working, but it was when Jeff and Brendan were working.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I was wondering, was Comey ever there going, please make me look better? What it does is show the human side, played by Jeff Daniels, does a great job as James Comey, but it shows the human side. And right. There was such a big internal debate talked about in the show where in July 2016, Comey's going to announce the findings of the investigation to Hillary's emails. And the whole idea, should he go alone? Should he go with the AG? Should he go with the DAG? With Sally Yates or not? He chooses to go alone. And I wondered watching it, was it naive or was it ego that he ultimately went alone? And he knew there'd be some blowback, but it was off the charts what he got as a result from both sides in response to going there, make an announcement, and actually even saying things like she's extremely careless. What was your take of it? Do you think Comey got it? Was it his ego that made him go talk alone?
I don't think it was his ego that made him do what he did. I think that one thing that I've learned about James Comey through all of this is that he believed that he was doing the right thing. I think he was painted into a corner, and there was no, I think it's addressed in the show, there was no scenario in which he was going to do the right thing, right? Like, you do it with the AG, you're going to look like a political hack. You do it. James Comey believes, and to this day, I'm sure believes, it's very hard for me to speak for him, but what I understand about him is that he is an apolitical man. And he thought, my reputation in this town, my reputation as this man is that I am apolitical, and that if I do this and I do it in an apolitical way, it's going to be the right thing to do. And I believe that he believed he was doing the right thing. And I think to question that in hindsight is pretty tough and unfair.
And there was, I have to be honest, when I watched this and the way it's laid out, when the Comey letter comes out infamously October 27th, 28th of 2016, which does change the trajectory of the campaign, I understood though more now from watching this why he had to do that. I mean, did you have a different outlook on it after seeing the way this was shot and after hearing the dialogue that was based in reality, as opposed to, because I remember I was very angry at James Comey in October 2016. And now watching it, I actually understand a little bit more, and I can see how it was justified to actually release that letter.
Right. I mean, and that's what, that's what I hope that people, one of the things that I hope people take from this is that you understand that these are people, all of these people in this story were people who were put in extraordinary circumstances. They are ordinary people put in extraordinary circumstances that never before seen, norms being broken daily that we had never seen politically, ever. And so you see how these everyday people, you realize that these guys, these men and women are just like you and I. Like, this is just what they do for a living. They chose to serve their country and work for, they could all make a lot more money in the private sector. They chose to do what they thought was right for the American people. And to see that spin or be spun on its head and turned upside down and made out to be these horrible people, you know, that's the part that kills me. That and the fact that they didn't come out publicly and say about the Russia investigation, because we all know that it's not a hoax. We all know that in 2016, whether Trump was privy to it or not, whether he endorsed it or not, whether he welcomed it or not, we know that Russia interfered in the election, and we know that they did it to help get Donald Trump elected. And the crazy thing is we know by all intelligence services that it's happening again in 2020, and they are burying that. And so for people to see that part of the story, I think is really important right now. I mean, when as a country, and sorry, I don't mean to get all riled up and political here, but when as a country did we all of a sudden decide to be the people who are like, yeah, Russia, I want what Russia wants? Like, what happened? What was that great hockey movie in the 80s? Like, what happened to that? You know?
The Miracle on Ice.
What a Miracle on Ice. Where is that?
We win the Olympic, we won the Olympic gold medal. And it's like, we defeated Russia. Now we're like, well, that's the world we live in now, where Donald Trump has made things partisan that should not be partisan.
Right.
From support. So no big deal if Russia attacks us. And no big deal if they give arms to the Taliban to kill our troops, because we did the same to them when they were in Afghanistan. Literally, that's what Trump has said. This is what we've done to them. To making life and death and COVID a partisan issue, which to me is beyond politics. It's criminal. But I'm not going to put words in your mouth. That's my thing. But
I'm with you.
You know, when you said about the origins of this the investigation into Russia and the ties to the Trump campaign, that is so laid out so well in this documentary. And I think that's so fundamentally important, because there's this meeting. I wish we could insert the scene right here where like, they're sitting around the table and they show Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Manafort, and Michael Flynn. They go, why are all these Trump people tied to Russia? And that's the question. Like, if they did not investigate that, we would be saying, why didn't you investigate these ties? And then you have the Trump Tower meeting on top of that in July of 2016. I'm hoping people take that away as well, that they go like, wow, now I get what the origins of this investigation was, and it should have been investigated. Is that, you hope that comes out of this as well?
100%. I mean, I think when Peter Strzok is saying in that meeting, he's like, the name after name comes up on the projector, and it's like red, blinking red, also blinking red. It's like, you can't make it up. You cannot. This happened, and the way they were able to spin the findings from that is the spin is never been like this. Like, you can spin something, sure. They're spinning the COVID response. Like, he didn't want to panic the country. The man who said the caravan's coming, Antifa's gonna take your suburbs. I didn't want to cause panic. Come on, man, come on.
He was just yesterday and the last few days about voter fraud is it's rigged, and all exclamation points. Everything is about panic for the man. Cory Booker's going to move to your neighborhood. It's just like, you're kidding me? This is where we are? It's like 1960s. This is like George Wallace stuff. And you're like, you had a tweet a few days ago, which I think summed up so much. How is anyone still defending this man? And that is my sentiment exactly. Like, how, please explain to me what you see in him. Well, look, in the world of Trump, it's not safe inside because of COVID, and it's not safe outside because of climate change.
Yeah. This
is Trump's America. And do you ever talk to Trumpers? I'm not sure if in your world you're able to.
I do, of course. Yes, of course I do. I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan. And so I have a lot of people from the South who follow me, and I try to engage with them as often as possible and have these discussions about how can you possibly still support this man. And to the people who say, religion and they're pro-life, right? You don't really have a counter argument to that other than, well, he's how about the gun laws and how about COVID? Like, are those not lives too? But at least at that point, I'm like, you know what? Okay, that is your very strong religious belief. But just know that that is a man who just prior to the election was saying that he was for abortion. Like he's a con man. He is, P.T. Barnum, only with a darker side. Like, and I've been in New York for over 2 decades. I know who he is. I know what he is. I have met him. I have been around him, and I watched his wife dismiss my wife like she was a peasant. Like these are the people that they are. He pushed me aside. I was having a conversation with Chris Matthews, an old friend of mine. It's just, that's who he is, man. And I get it. If you're pro-life, I get it. Sure, okay, fine. There's nothing I can say to take you away from that. Yes, he went to the pro-life march, but know that it wasn't because that's what he believes. He knows that's the only way he's going to be elected.
It's interesting what you said about the personal experience, which kind of colors a lot of things. It's anecdotal, but it says so much about Trump, which is he's lived this elitist life where sort of the backstage pass to life, and everyone is born into wealth, yet he's the biggest victim of everything. I've never seen that. I don't know why that resonates with his base, because a lot of them truly are struggling to put food on their table and to give their kids food and clothes. And they have every right to complain about their lives. Yet he does it, the billionaire born into wealth, got everything he's wanted. And that resonates with him. And that I'm not wired intellectually to understand that. I really am not kidding. I'm not kidding. I just don't understand that.
That's the problem for me, is that these discussions back and forth with people on the right, quite often some people who are not as fortunate as I am. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm going to be fine. Like financially, like this guy's not all that bad for me. Right. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for my children. I'm fighting for the Supreme Court seats. I'm fighting for climate change. I'm fighting for all the things that matter to me, but I'm fighting for you. I'm trying to help you. Like it's very hard because there is a wall put up and people don't like to be told that they're wrong, right? Like, so if you voted for Donald Trump in 2016, there will be a large group of people who will vote for him in 2020 because they don't want to be wrong. They think he's been great. He's been great for the economy. They don't take into account that there was 6 straight years of economic growth, at least 6 straight years of economic growth under Obama, Biden. Sometimes they just don't want to hear it because they don't want to be wrong. Well,
Michael, what do you want? You've touched on it a few times. The series, it airs September 27th, 28th on Showtime, the Comey Rule. Is there one big takeaway? We touch on it here and there that you hope viewers get out of this 2-day, and it's remarkably done, fabulous actors, well-known actor, Holly Hunter, like even the people below the top levels are great actors.
Insane.
And so like, what do you hope people take away from it, and why should they tune in?
I think everyone should tune in because, like I said earlier about the being inundated with a new crazy every day, which we are, it's just a very kind reminder of where it all started and how it all started and what the FBI was actually looking at it simultaneously with the Hillary emails. I think it breaks it down for people in a very easy to understand way that happens to be an incredibly compelling story as well. And a story about how these men and women in the FBI and how they're people just like you and I. They have families just like you and I, and they are good people who could have a great life in the private sector, who chose to serve this country and do what they felt was right in their hearts. They're the good guys. And I think a kind reminder, because this is a dangerous time when you question and you have a president who is discrediting our intelligence agencies, the CIA, the FBI, everybody who speaks out against him is wrong. The first thing a dictator does is discredit the media. He did that. Then you discredit your intelligence services. Then you just say whatever you want. So I think I would like people to see that. I would also like people to have discussions. Like I said, this show I really believe is going to upset people on the left and the right. And I think for people to have discussions about what happened and what is happening to our country, if we can all talk, we can all go a lot further.
that I wish the same thing, and people should really tune in. If you've lived through in 2016, you're going to love this now because it brings it all together. The Comey Rule.
And it's just so good. Like, it's really well done. Billy Ray knocked it out of the park, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. I just can't wait for people to see it.
And you're great in this as well. So Watchdog as Andy McCabe. And it was a really great meeting you, Michael. And I wish you the best. And thank you for fighting the good fight for people who are not always, look, I look white, but I'm Muslim and a Palestinian heritage. You know, the stuff Trump has done with the Muslim ban has been very personal. So it's important that white people with privilege, even though I look like one, I'm not white, but I have some privilege. But people like yourself who are speaking out, because maybe you can connect with some of the other Trump supporters who just dismiss me as Muslim and tell me go back to my country, which is New Jersey, but still the point of the reality of what we live with today. So thank you, Michael. Nice meeting you. I wish you the best.
Really a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time. I enjoyed it.